You fixed the injection. Wrong spot, wrong technique. You corrected it. Good. But here is what nobody told you. The timing of when to inject Tesamorelin may be cutting your result in half. And I don't mean by little. I mean the difference between 15 to 18% visceral fat reduction, which is what clinical trials showed, and barely moving the needle at all. This is part 2, and this one matters more than part 1 on Tesamorelin. Before I get into specific mistakes, I want to make sure you understand why timing is not just a preference with Tesamorelin. Because once you understand the mechanism, everything I'm about to tell you makes complete sense. Tesamorelin works by stimulating your pituitary gland to produce growth hormone. That's the signal. But here is the part that changes how you think about timing. Growth hormone is not released constantly. Your body releases it in pulses, sharp, concentrated bursts. And the biggest natural pulse happens during the first 90 minutes of slow wave sleep at night. That's your body's primary growth hormone window. It's hardwired into your circadian biology, has been since you were born. Now, Tesamorelin creates an artificial pulse on top of that natural rhythm. And whether that pulse lands at right time or competes with the wrong biological state determines how effective it stimulates your pituitary and how much growth hormone actually gets released in response. This is not theoretical. The clinical trial data on Tesamorelin, the phase 3 trial that led to FDA approval, showed 15 to 18% visceral fat reduction. But those results came from patients following a specific protocol with specific timing. When people use this Tesamorelin casually at random times without understanding the biology underneath it, they are not replicating those trial conditions and they are not getting those results. But timing of injection is not a minor detail. It is part of the protocol. Let me show you exactly where the people go wrong. The number one timing mistake I see on Tesamorelin, and this surprises a lot of people, is taking Tesamorelin in the morning. I know you've probably seen protocol online that says morning dosing is fine. Some even recommend it. And the reasoning sounds logical on the surface. You take it, it stimulates growth hormone, the growth hormone goes to work on your visceral fat, you go about your day. That sounds like it makes sense. But here is the problem. Growth hormone's primary mechanism for fat metabolism, particularly visceral fat mobilization, works more efficiently in a fasted, low insulin state. When you inject Tesamorelin in morning and then eat breakfast 30 minutes later, insulin rises. And elevated insulin directly suppresses the fat-burning activity that the growth hormone pulse is trying to initiate. You have essentially sent a signal and then blocked the response before it could complete. Your body releases its largest natural growth hormone pulses in the early part of the sleep for a reason. At that point, you've been fasted for several hours. Insulin is at the lowest. The hormonal environment is primed to receive that signal and act on it. So Tesamorelin injected in the evening, 30 to 60 minutes before bed, in a fasted state, lands in the same environment. The signal goes out, insulin is low, and the fat mobilization pathway can actually complete. The trial data supported evening dosing. Most clinical protocols use it. And I've seen it in patients that the body composition outcomes from evening dosing are consistently better than what we see when people are taking it in the morning and wondering why the results are underwhelming. Switch to evening if you haven't already, and don't eat within 2 hours of your injection. Those 2 changes alone can meaningfully shift your outcome. This one is so common and fixable that it genuinely frustrates me how rarely it gets explained. Here is the physiology. When you eat, especially carbs and protein, your insulin rises. Insulin is an anabolic, storage, promoting hormone. Its job is to take what you just ate and store it. That is the opposite of what growth hormone is trying to do when Tesamorelin sends the pituitary signal. Growth hormone and insulin operates in opposition. When insulin is high, growth hormone's fat mobilization signal is blunted. The 2 systems are designed to not be running at full capacity simultaneously. Your body prioritizes the storage signal over mobilization signal when food is present. That is evolutionary biology. When you ate, your body assumes food was available and storage was the priority. The growth hormone fat burning signal gets down-regulated accordingly. So when you inject Tesamorelin within an hour or 2 of a meal, even a reasonable non-excessive meal, you are sending a fat mobilization signal into a high insulin environment that is actively suppressing that signal. The growth hormone pulse still happens, but it works against the current instead of with it. The protocol that works is simple. 2 hours minimum since your last meal before injecting. Ideally 3. Inject, go to sleep, and let the fasted overnight period do the work. If you are eating late and injecting right before bed, that is the mistake. Move your dinner earlier or move your injection later. One of those has to change. This one is less about avoiding a mistake and more about understanding an opportunity. And most people are completely missing it. Exercise is one of the most powerful natural stimulus of growth hormone release. High intensity training, resistant training, sprint interval, this all produces significant growth hormone pulses. The mechanism overlaps with Tesamorelin's mechanism. So both are stimulating growth hormone through the pituitary, just through different pathway. Here is what that means practically. If you train hard in evening and then inject Tesamorelin an hour or 2 later, fasted before bed, you are stacking 2 growth hormone stimulating events. Your pituitary has already been primed by exercise-induced pulses. Tesamorelin then sends a second sustained signal into the system that's already been activated. The combined effects on IGF-1 production and on the downstream fat mobilization response is stronger than either stimulus alone. This is why we generally recommend scheduling your training in a late afternoon or evening if you're on Tesamorelin. You train, you eat your post-workout meal, then this is the one meal where eating makes sense before the injection window closes. Then you allow 2 to 3 hours, inject before bed, let your body work in the fasted overnight state. Conversely, people who train in the morning and inject at night are not capturing that synergetic window. They are separating the 2 signals by 12 or more hours. Both signals still work independently, but you are leaving significant optimization on table. This does not mean you need to completely restructure your life. But if you have flexibility in your training schedule, evening training with an evening Tesamorelin injection is the most evidence-aligned approach. Let me talk about cycling. Because this is where I see two completely opposite mistakes, and both of them cost people their results. Mistake 1, stopping too early. This is most common. Someone gets on Tesamorelin, sees meaningful changes at month 2 or 3, and decides they have achieved what they wanted, and then they stop. And within weeks to months, visceral fat starts returning. Why? Because Tesamorelin does not permanently reprogram your body's fat storage tendencies. It maintains the hormonal environment that keeps visceral fat mobilized. When you remove the signal, the environment shifts back, the fat comes back. This is actually documented in the clinical trial data. In the extensive studies, patients who discontinued Tesamorelin showed partial reversal or visceral fat reduction within 6 to 12 months. The minimum effective cycle for meaningful sustained visceral fat reduction is 6 months. The clinical trial ran at 26 weeks for a reason. That is the duration required to see the full compounding effect. Coming off at 12 weeks because you like what you saw is not finishing the protocol. It's stopping at halftime. Mistake number 2, running it indefinitely without a structured cycle. This matters for different reasons. Your pituitary gland's growth hormone releasing receptor can desensitize to chronic stimulation over time. A protocol that runs without any break doesn't give those receptors time to fully reset. Most clinical providers use a structure of 6 months on, followed by monitored break for 4 to 8 weeks at least, followed by reassessment. The break period is not wasted time. It allows receptor sensitivity to restore and gives your provider the chance to check where your IGF-1 settles off cycle, which informs the next protocol. Know your cycle, know your timeline. Don't stop early because you saw progress. Don't run it indefinitely without a structured break. So let's talk about the combinations, because this is where protocol either gets significantly more effective or start working against themselves. The first combination mistake is taking Tesamorelin at the same time as the other peptide that competes for the same receptor window. If you're also on Samorelin, for example, and you inject both at the same time, same syringe or back to back, you are sending 2 GHRS signals simultaneously, because both this peptide works on a GHRS receptor at the pituitary. Flooding that receptor with 2 signals at once doesn't double the response. Receptor saturation doesn't work that way. You get a signal pulse potentially no stronger than 1 peptide alone, and you have used 2 medications to achieve it. The current approach when using GHRH analog alongside Tesamorelin is sequential timing or split dosing, which requires real clinical guidance because the protocol design depends on your specific goal and your IGF-1 levels. This is not something to guess on. The second combining mistake is taking Tesamorelin alongside a GHRP, a growth hormone releasing peptides like ipamorelin, at the wrong time relative to meals. GHRPs like ipamorelin also stimulate growth hormone, but through the ghrelin receptor rather than the GHRH receptor. These two mechanisms are complementary. When you combine GHRH signal with GHRP signal, the growth hormone pulse is amplified. The two pathway works synergetically. But if you take this combination in a fed state with insulin elevated, you have blunted the response before it can express. The combination has to be timed into a fasted window for a synergy to actually work. All the same rule applies, just with a higher stake because you are using more tools. The third mistake in combination is adding carbohydrate or high glycemic food post-injection, thinking it's fine because the injection is already done. It's not fine. The injection initiates the cascade. The cascade takes time to complete. Spiking insulin in an hour after your Tesamorelin injection is still disrupting the downstream fat metabolism process even after signal has been sent. Lab monitoring, where a lot of people make timing mistake that leads them to completely wrong conclusion about whether their protocol is working. The primary lab to track on Tesamorelin is IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. This is the downstream marker that tells you whether the growth hormone stimulation from Tesamorelin is actually translating into biological effects. If your IGF-1 level is rising into the therapeutic range, the protocol is working. If it's not moving, something in the protocol needs adjustment. Dose, timing, lifestyle factor, all of them. Here is the timing mistake. Getting your IGF-1 checked too early. I see patients who check at 2 weeks, sees the number hasn't dramatically changed, and concludes the medication isn't working. IGF-1 does not respond overnight. It is a reflection of sustained growth hormone stimulation over weeks. In most patients, meaningful IGF-1 elevation from Tesamorelin is detected at 6 to 8 weeks of consistent, correctly timed use. Checking at 2 or 3 weeks gives you an inaccurate picture and leads to unnecessary dose adjustment or protocol abandonment. The second timing mistake with labs is checking IGF-1 on the day when your protocol was disrupted. If you ate late the night before, had alcohol, got poor sleep, or skipped your injection, your IGF-1 on that day is not reliable reflection of your protocol. The more accurate IGF-1 reading, the lab should be drawn after at least 2 weeks of completely consistent protocol adherence in the morning fasted. I recommend checking IGF-1 level at a baseline before starting at 8 to 12 weeks into the protocol. And at the end of each cycle, those 3 data points tells us the full story of how the protocol is performing and whether any adjustments are needed. Don't make clinical decisions from premature or poorly timed lab. The data needs to be clean to be useful. So let me put it all together in one clear protocol framework, because I want you to leave this video with something actionable, not just a list of things to stop doing. Injection timing. Evening, 30 to 60 minutes before sleep. This aligns your Tesamorelin pulse with your body's natural overnight growth hormone window, your lowest insulin period, and the fasted state that allows fat mobilization to complete. Meal timing. Nothing within 2 hours of your injection, ideally 3. If you are training in the evening, eat your post-workout meal early. Eat your post-workout meal early enough that you have that fasted window before bed. Your last meal should be done before that 2-hour buffer begins. Exercise. If your schedule allows, late afternoon or evening timing is optimal. You prime the pituitary with an exercise-induced growth hormone pulses. Allow 2 to 3 hours for insulin to settle and then inject. You have captured two synergetic signals in the same hormonal window. Cycle length. 6 months minimum for meaningful sustained visceral fat reduction. Do not stop early because you see the progress in 1, 2, or 3. That progress is the beginning, not the finish line. After 6 months, work with your provider on structured break of 4 to 8 weeks with IGF-1 monitoring before deciding on the next cycle. Lab monitoring. Baseline IGF-1 before starting. Recheck at 8 to 12 weeks after consistent protocol adherence. Again, at end of the cycle, draw your labs fasted in the morning after at least 2 weeks of zero disruption to your protocol. Combinations. If you're stacking Tesamorelin with other peptides, whether Samorelin, Ipamorelin, or anything else, those timing decisions needs to be made with your provider based on your specific protocol design. Don't layer compounds based on forum advice. The combination can be powerful. The timing of this combination requires clinical judgment. That is the framework, not complicated, but it requires consistency and it requires actual understanding why each piece of it matters. Let me be straight with you for a second, because I think you deserve an honest picture of what this medication is and what it requires. Tesamorelin is genuinely remarkable. It has phase 3 human trial data showing 15 to 18% visceral fat reduction. It has FDA approval. The evidence base for this peptide is stronger than almost anything else in the category. I prescribe it. I believe in the data. I see the results in patients. But I also see people who come in frustrated after 3 or 4 months and tells me it isn't working. And in almost every single case, when we go through their protocol in detail, there's a timing issue. There's the injection in the morning. They are eating right before the injection. They stopped at 3 months because they thought they were done. They never checked their IGF-1 level. They never adjusted based on what the lab was showing. Tesamorelin doesn't fail those patients. The protocol fails them. And that distinction matters because it's fixable. Every mistake I have described in the video is correctable. None of it requires starting over. It requires understanding why the timing matters and then actually respecting that biology in how you run the protocol day to day. The people who get the results that match the trial data are the ones running the protocol the way the trial was designed. Consistent timing. Fasted injections, 6 months minimum, lab monitoring, provider oversight. That's the full picture. Go check your protocol against everything I just walked you through. Injection time, meal timing, your cycle length, whether you have had your IGF-1 checked, whether you are making any of the combination mistakes. If something's off, that's actually good news because now you know what to fix. And fixing a timing mistake is a lot easier than starting over from scratch. If you want someone to look at your protocol, your specific situation, your labs, your history, that's exactly what we do here at MyFitMed. We don't hand you the prescription and send you on your way. We design the protocol, monitor the lab, and adjust as your body responds. If you're in Texas, the link to book a consultation is in the description. If you're outside Texas, please follow up with the provider who understands peptides. If part 1 on Tesamorelin helped you, and this one helped you too, share it. I promise there are people in your life on Tesamorelin who have no idea about any of this. And if you want every video we put on the peptide, hormones, and metabolic health, subscribe. We put out new content twice a week, and it's all built on same thing. Actual clinical evidence, no hype, real information. Drop a comment and tell me which of this timing mistake you were making. I'll see you in the next video.